Welcome everybody to another episode of True Confessions of a Car Guy. My name is Bagi, and alongside me in studio are the hosts of the show, John Gavin and Richard Luciano. Gentlemen, welcome back again.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back again because 2 or 3 weeks ago it didn't look too good. So, my friends know I had a heart attack 3 weeks ago, and I'm 59 years old. I spent 42 years in the car business, and the moment I retire, I have a fucking heart attack. I should have had a heart attack 2 decades ago.
Which is crazy because the truth is he really retired. He calls the company, retires, and the next day has a fucking heart attack.
I'm in the fucking hospital. So I unretired so I don't have any more problems. Yeah. But it's crazy. I'm yelling and screaming for 42 years at salespeople that are dumb fucks, don't know what they're doing, and taking customers out and not doing the things that we told them to do. You know, for instance, when a customer, wanted to buy a car and they were making stupid offers, we used to tell them, hey, go sit the customer down and at least get something from that customer. John, do you remember what that stuff used to be called?
Yeah. Go get some glue. We get ridiculous offers. We actually got an email from a customer named Les, which I'll read after we talk today. But yeah, or I can read it now. You want me to read it now?
Read it now, and then I'll tell you something.
That's a real thing. When I saw the email, that's why I want to verify everything through you, John, and through you, Rich, because this is just. I mean, I've been in the business. April was 15 years for me, and it's just something I've never even in my wildest dreams could think is even possible. This concept of the glue.
Well, because nowadays you'd probably be insulting someone if you asked them for the glue. But we have a language that is all our own, but we didn't develop this language. There's certain things that we used to tell people that John is in Chicago and I'm in New York and Florida, and it's the same language. No matter where you go, it's universal. But people don't know what the fuck you're saying. But we didn't create this to be secretive. It's just the things that we have, that someone probably said. Along the way. It's definitely a cross between Glenn Gary and Glenn Ross and that show with Leonardo DiCaprio. What was the name of that show with him? Wolf of Wall Street?
Yeah, Wolf of Wall Street.
My dealership was fucking Wolf of Wall Street. We went crazy. The only thing we didn't do is throw fucking midgets around. But strippers and all that other shit, they were in the dealership. There was bonuses for them. In fact, we had, I'm working in South Florida, and every block is a strip club. I don't know if I was fortunate or unfortunate, but at the end of the day, a lot of my friends own those strip clubs. And you would see them girls, and in my case, I'm probably the only person that ever made money on strippers rather than spend $20 for a lap dance. They used to bring me their customers in, and they would tell the customer, their customer, that they need to buy a car and they needed to put $5,000 down. And, oh, by the way, you got to tip Richie $1,000. So, it was hilarious that they would bring them in and they bring their Johns 10, 15,000 and they would do it. And I would just sit there and shut my mouth. I mean, I just couldn't understand sometimes how stupid men could be for women. And, it's like them saying, nobody gets laid in a strip club or in the champagne room. Well, for the
how
right
many
price.
times did you get a co-signer, which was, a stripper, and then the co-signer is some dude who barely knows her just as a dancer or whatever, and you hear 3 months later you're getting a phone call from, hey, can you get me off? No, I can't get you off the loan. You signed for her, you got her a car.
Well, their wife found out. That's usually what happened. They're co-signing for the girl because they didn't come up with the 5 Gs down, so they offered the co-signer because the girl threw a temper tantrum, walked out of the dealership, and then they co-signed. And that would
most of the time those women had their own money. They bring 10 times down, 8 times down, and the guy, they just didn't have credit, or else it was.
That's what's saying how I made money is how I got them approved. Is you remember when you had the bank reps that used to come by and try to say, hey, we need more contracts from you, or the ones that you like trying to get your business? Well, I had a guy named Mike Kyle that worked for Primus, and what he did is we sold so many strippers cars at my dealership that he would go to the strip club and verify that they worked there. So he'd go see them on their shift. and then talk to the manager how long they've been there. And that's how we verified income with them. Not only did we get bank statements, he went there and interviewed them. Because
it was so different. It was so different back then. We would think about it. You didn't have a bureau in the beginning. We didn't have bureaus.
No.
So nobody had a TransUnion, TRW, Equifax. We had an interview with the customer, right? How long you been on your job? How long, what do you make? You got to check stuff. And then we call the bank and tell them, no, this is what he did. He had a car before. He had this and he had that. And then you get into the glue part. Today, I think the big difference is, you remember how many TOs did you have on a customer before turnovers? A customer comes in to buy a car. They say no. How many guys did you send?
We would send in the sales manager, possibly another salesperson. Definitely desk manager had to go in, and then they come to me. So they would lit up if they didn't turn them over to me when I was there. Not busy, but it was just religion to turn them over. And, to come to the sales desk without a commitment, I remember when I was a salesperson and I got a commitment from a customer and I didn't get any glue. And I had the whole deal done. They'd rip my fucking whole deal up. And even though the deal was done, I didn't even need a closer. They said, you didn't bring me up the glue. So people ask me, what's the craziest thing that you ever had someone give you? Fuck. I had people bring their shoes that said they didn't have any money on them. I says, take off your shoes. And I bring shoes to the desk.
I was writing it down. I had Bears tickets once. Guy just said here, because back then you had to bring glue. You had to bring.
You had to have a commitment from the customer. That's what that means.
That's right. Or you'd rip it in half, or you'd send another guy out and say, hey, go get some glue for this customer, and he'd split his deal now. So today's world, it's a hard business. I'm not taking anything away from salespeople. It's fucking hard. But today, I can absolutely see a lot of times they don't even bring the customer to the desk or put them in the CRM. You don't even know they were there. They qualified them, decided everything, let them go. Back then, if you let a customer, we were like hawks. If you had a customer, he walked on, and I saw him or you saw him go to the car, oh my God, if I didn't get to talk to him or
that's what I was talking about. I had a heart attack. Could you imagine how many times that happened and how loud I screamed? I mean, I did everything short of kill the salesperson when he let someone leave. I probably could have had misdemeanors or minor felonies against me for the abuse that I put through them. If you did that nowadays, your salesperson would melt down crying and you'd get a call from his mother saying, what'd you do to my son? He was crying.
So we had an email come in, as I mentioned. So a guy by the name of Les, he lives in Northbrook, Illinois. So he's done well for himself. He's been in the car business 40 plus years, and he's 83 and still selling cars. So I probably just gave him up who he is. But he said, back in the day, I was selling at a store on the north side. Good store, busy. We wrote a lot of deals. Not everybody that came in had their act together financially, but that was fine. We figured it out. You find a way, you find excuses. I never like excuses. So it became known on the floor that if a customer needed a deposit held and didn't have the cash or a check, you could work something out. I started it. I'll own that. First time was a microwave. A guy swore to be back the next morning with the check, and he left the microwave, came back, paid. Everybody was happy. After that, word got around. I had a shop vac in my trunk for about 6 weeks. It didn't matter. We held the deal closed. Everybody was happy. But one that stuck with me, I want to tell you about, is a Rolex. A lady comes in, lovely woman, knew exactly what she wanted. We find the car. She loves it. We sit down. We start working numbers. Everything's going smooth until we get to the deposit. She gets really quiet, starts digging through her purse. She looks up at me and she puts the watch on the desk. It's a men's Rolex Datejust, gold and steel, gorgeous piece. I didn't ask where it came from. That was not my department. I just tagged it, wrote the receipt, locked it in my drawer, and we were in business. Car got delivered. Lady was thrilled. Done deal, right? About a week goes by, and the receptionist transfers me a call. There's a guy in the line, really polite, almost too polite. I had a feeling, you know what I mean? The kind of polite where you could tell something there's underneath.
Yeah, something's up.
Yeah.
He wanted info.
He says he's looking for a watch, and he describes it perfectly down to the case back engraving. I said, sir, can I ask how you tracked it down? She said she used it as a deposit before. I found it at a camera shop on Dempster. The woman had a system. So now I got an ex-husband on the phone, a watch in my drawer, and a customer who is very happily driving a car that partially secured with stolen property. I use that word loosely, borrowed, permanently borrowed. I walk back to the manager's office. I see Big Ron, which I know who Ron is, by the way. Told him the situation. He put his sandwich down, and Ron never put his sandwich down. I definitely know who Ron is. And just looked up at me for a long moment. He said, Lester, this is why we don't take microwaves. I called the lady. She wasn't surprised to hear from me. And she said she was going to handle it. I said, you got to handle it today. Long story short, we gave the watch back. I don't remember how we did it, but 6 months later, she was back again to buy another car.
With a watch?
Shit's true. It's
You
true. I mean,
you take anything.
Guy give me his wedding band, and not me, per the salesman. I send him back. Guy, you come back with a wedding band. Always a title back in the day. It's kind of funny today. Nobody walks in really that I've seen recently with their title. Mm-hmm. It was not a big deal.
That's because they all owe fucking money and they're 7,000 upside down because they keep rolling over their finances. You know, it's funny. Talk about, you know, obviously being Italian, I always know some. We always got a guy. You know, Italian.
I had a T-shirt.
You ask him for a plumber. I got a guy. You ask the plumber, you know, for a tax accountant. He says, I got a guy. Everybody, they got a guy. So my boss knew that I knew everybody. I was wired into all kinds of shit. We would take anything on trade. I took a fucking, what do they call those things with a head of a deer that was stuffed? We've taken, there's a purchase of everything. I think it was worth like $500, but I had a guy. So there was no guns, jewelry, watch. It didn't matter. Appliances. We were like a pawn shop dealership because we could take anything in. You know, in fact, one of my dealers in Colorado, Modern Classic Motors, you know, they were pretty close to me. So they bring me in their sales office because it's in Colorado. She had 100 guns inside the safe that she would put as collateral for down payment. So she'd write the customer out, okay, 90 days, $1,000 for this gun. And she knew how to appraise them, or if she called, and the people had 90 days to make the money goods because she held the collateral. And so she would give them a loan and use it as collateral. So everything's tradable. Horses, anything people have, we would use for trade-in for the down payment. And,
well, in the 80s, if you remember, if you were a dealer, I don't know if it hit the East Coast, but it happened we did it. I mean, I did it all the time. We could make our own rebate check. So in other words, you take a deal, you make a deal, and you call it in, and you'd write a receipt out to yourself for $2,000. Now, this is against the law today. And you'd staple it to the deal, send it in, and that was it. The customer got done, 2 G's down. You'd recap the deal, and there'd be a stapled receipt for $2,000 that say in-house rebate.
Yeah. We have that.
Yeah, in-house. That went on for a few years. I think we single-handedly put the GMAC
out of business
in one of the towns by us because
you know it's funny.
Doing conversion vans and all kinds of shit like that. So
customers couldn't figure out rebates. So what I used to do with the rebates is once I closed the deal, I used to love the big rebates because what I did is once I closed the deal, I added the rebate to the selling price and then took it off the bottom. And I told the customer, you have to pay tax on that rebate. And I would explain it to them. You go to a store and you buy a candy bar for $1 and it has a 25% rebate. You pay the $1 and then they give you the rebate. So you pay tax on it. The bigger the rebate, the better. Because if the car was $17,000, I would sell it for the $17,000, and I put the $5,000 on top and show them you're only paying tax on the rebate, 6% on the bottom. People could never figure out rebate. Even the salespeople, They were so stupid with the customers, they would not know how to do it, so they would agree that, yeah, you got to tax it. You'd have to go over it with them.
The FTC didn't know how to do it back when rebates first came out. And they said it had to be taxable. At first, they said you had to tax it. So all the dealers at the time, or just sales managers or just whatever we are, that's guys, we're tacking rebates on top of selling prices, taxing them, then taking them back off. And all it was gross, just straight up gross. It was, but the FTC didn't even know how to do it. They sent out a memo.
In the rebates in the
tax
dealership.
The rebate. Okay. And then it just turned into such a gross monster that the customer wasn't really that mad about it because you had it 3,000, then he gave it back.
Took it off on the bottom.
Yeah,
they were happy as shit that you got in that rebate. I used to tell them, don't worry, I got a way that I'm going to get you a lot of money with this deal's done. So let's negotiate the deal. Then I'm going to get you a lot of money. And you're going to, but you got to pay tax on that money. I'm telling you, I can't give it to you for free. So if I get you $5,000, you're going to have to pay the tax on the $5,000, but you're going to get $5,000 more off on the car when I'm done. And they would just buy it hook, line, and sinker.
How many funny. Did you do where you sent the rebate to the customer instead of using it towards the deal? I mean, I had guys that come in. That's how they paid their mortgage. They would come in, every 60 days, 90 days, they'd be in trouble. Find me a car with a rebate, send it to them, get them done at 150.
Yeah, those are guys that would trade their car in every 2-3 months, and the rebate would come to them, and they keep buying cars because they had good credit, never pay a payment.
Yeah,
they just keep buying them using the rebates as the down payment that they got from the last deal. It's crazy that so much shit goes on in the car business that they had rules and regulations that the attorney generals couldn't keep up. And again, I'm in a store selling 1,000 cars a month, and they all thought every dealer in town around our PMA, the PMA is your circumference of the way you sell, they would always fucking say we're doing it wrong. They got to be cheating. How are they selling 500 new cars at Dodge when they were Intrepids and Caravans? How do they do that? They got to be cheating. And our ads, they couldn't figure out the ads, how we were coming up with those prices. And what it was is back then, my boss would cut deals with the factory. Factory would have what we call trunk money that you get if you hit a certain amount of cars. So they come up with a program that says, okay, if you sell 100 cars, you're going to get $500 back. If you sell 1,000 cars or 200 cars, you're going to get 1,000 back, 300. My boss would go to them and say, okay, if I sell 500 cars, will you give me 4,000 back a car or nothing? I don't want a stair step that falls backwards. I want $4,000 a car for 500 cars or zero. So they cut that deal with us because they figured they wouldn't have to pay a shit. So that back then you could do that. And so we acted like we were in the bonus the first day. So we wouldn't miss the deal. So we're selling cars and the other dealers are trying to figure out how the fuck are we getting 4,000? There can't be 4,000 because we're only getting back 1,000 or 500 on the trunk money. They didn't know about that. So they used to call the attorney general. And they'd come in. So it got to the point where I had to have every month, whatever monies we were selling, I had to have what we call an evidence book. And the evidence book had the deals in it that we took the 4,000 off or the 5,000 off. So the attorney general, now we didn't just have one, we had several because they said, hey, one, you can lose money and it'd be a loss leader. And that's still not proper, was what the attorney generals used to say. So we would have several. They'd come in, look at the book, and finally after 8, 9, 10 years, I got close with them because they came in every month and get lunch for them and everything. And I said, let me ask you a question. Why are you always in here breaking our balls? You never find us out of compliance. And they said, the dealers are calling on you. I said, the dealers? Who? And they told me the dealers that were calling on me. My partner, James, who I'm going to Sturgis with this year for the first time, he's there. So my partner, James, he took offense to it because a dealer ratting you out. So we're in Vegas for Cash Bash. And Cash Bash is when you sell a lot of cars, they give you awards and you go pick it up in Vegas. Great, because some people never came home with the fucking money, or some people we never even found after that. But at the end of the day, James is on the blackjack table with me and 2 guys dressed nice. I knew who they were. He didn't. So we're playing blackjack, and he's playing like $500 a hand, and he's superstitious. And the guy goes to him, oh, my God, what a beautiful watch that you got. He goes, where'd you get that watch? He goes, yeah, my boss put a bonus up. If we beat the Arrigos this month, I'm getting a new Rolex. Well, that was the owner of the fucking store, Jimmy Arrigo. On Arrigo. And I started spitting out my drink. And I said, Jimmy, and he's drunk off his ass. I said, James, let me introduce you. This is Jimmy and John Arrigo. They own Arrigo Dodge, our competition. And that was so fucking funny that we're playing blackjack with them. And our boss was nuts. He put that bonus up. Eventually, when he got sick, he sold out to Jimmy and John Arrigo, who actually just sold to Morgan. But that's what I mean about the car business. It's fucking nuts. Yeah. So
do you remember half a car? Do you remember? Did you guys have half a car out east?
No, we never had half a car. So, you mean selling the program half a car where the dumpster?
No. So half a car, this was the biggest scam ever. So half a car was really a lease. So back in 1987, Lincoln, there's a guy who invents half a car. I can't think of his name right now, but it'll maybe come to me. But anyhow, we go to school to learn how to sell half car. And it's real simple.
That was Ford Motor Credit.
We're advertising online Lincolns for a $47,000 Lincoln for $22,000. So all Mercuries, everything Lincoln is half off. Customer walks in. Well, how do you pay for it? Well, you only pay for its best years of its life.
Half now.
You pay half now, and then at the end, if you decide, you can buy the rest. But why would you? The warranty's up. Trade it back in, and you get another one. So half a car was a big deal in Chicagoland. We were doing 400 Lincolns.
Yeah, John, it is familiar to me. We presented it a little bit different. Or we had promotions too, that if you buy this car, you get this one for free. And it was free for 3 years because it was like a prepaid lease that was fucking nothing. You know, got to remember Dodge Aries, wherever they were, it was $6,000 car. So they weren't that expensive. So we would come up with the craziest promotions. I got a promotion that I'm 24 years old or 23 years old. I just got married maybe. And I'm running 4 stores in Manhattan. So for a guy named Victor Pradapin, I got a Toyota, Volkswagen, Mazda, and Dodge store on 57th Street and 11th Avenue in a building. You know, like you go to Manhattan, you see those big high rises. I'm on the floor of the big building. My used cars used to have 50 in it. We had to have skinny porters that could get in and move them. So, you know, we're selling those cars back then. And I'd run out of cars, and they'd be in New Jersey, my storage was. So I would have a Mazda 626, and people wanted a Camry, and I would be telling them, hey, the car looks just like this one. It's the same. It's this color. Because back then, they all had that beige color. Everybody wanted that beige color.
Yeah, stick around brown.
It was nuts. And then I had coupons to buy people dinner, because when we got their cars delivered, it was in New Jersey. Sometimes they got caught in the tunnel for 2-3 fucking hours. So that was nuts. So I would send them to dinner. So we worked right next to the Copa. So I'm right next to the Copa Cabana, the famous nightclub. We'd shut down on Thursday night, and that was a party night. We'd go right into the Copa. I wouldn't be home till 2 a.m. But these people would come in, and I'd buy them dinner, and they don't know why I'm buying them dinner because I didn't tell them their car was going to be at 3 hours. You know, it was stuck in New Jersey. So in New York, you can't spot deliver a car. You must have the insurance. So what they used to do is set up appointments for customers. So they come in, buy a car. We would take a non-refundable partial down payment to the car. Okay.
So you guys didn't have binders? You guys didn't?
No. Well, I'll tell you the story. What we end up doing. So you could get a binder on a car if their insurance company was open. You can do that. So I had a friend that owned. I still know it. BAM Brokerage. They used to give $300 back if you called them and you referred a customer. So you know me, I referred everybody. I was getting dialed when I was a salesperson. So when I went to work for Manhattan on 57th Street and 11th Avenue, it's very expensive to work in Manhattan in those buildings. So I called up Mike. Look, I still remember these guys. I can't remember fucking yesterday, but I still remember these guys. I called the owner. I says, Mike, listen, how would you like to come into Manhattan and have a second insurance office on 57th Street and 11th Avenue? He goes, I'd love that, but I could never afford that. I says, how about it's going to be free? He goes, what? I says, you're going to come and I need you to put, the only thing your expense is going to be is putting somebody to work in the office while we're open. I said, we do, I don't know, 600 cars a month. So we're going to bring everybody to you before they go to the finance office. So you'll have a shot at selling them insurance, and that's going to be part of our sales process. I'll make it and teach them and train them. He goes, when can I come? I says, you can come fucking now if you want. So he came. Next day, set up an office, hired a guy to come in. We actually had the guy that worked for him. He went there. So what we did is send them all to him during business hours, because he could only bind cars during those hours. After 6 o'clock, you couldn't do shit. So I says, Mike, I need you to do something. I need you to get a So I had remembered some things about insurance through, I think it was called, it's not Dun & Bradstreet. It was something else back in Manhattan. It was like one of those big insurers. They're still around. I forgot what it was. But I said, I need you to get a temporary insurance policy. He goes, what's that? I says, that's where I can pay $70 or $80 for 3 days worth of insurance until the customer either buys a policy from you during those late hours, or they buy that policy until they get to their own insurance company. So we found a way to do it. He got one of his insurance companies to write that. So a 3-day thing cost us $60. So now we went to fucking spot delivery in New York. That's how we ended up doubling this dealership's business.
Chicago was doing binders, which is a 7-day policy, just covers the car. We would be spotting everybody. We had the guy in the show who owned the company, INS. Larry was on the show. And we were doing that since 1983, 80, maybe even sooner. That's
about around the time that I started that, somewhere in that. No, it was a little later, John. It was because it was about 3 years later than that. But you got to remember with car guys, this, different animals. You got a problem, you got to fucking solve it. My problem was I sent people out with my buyer's order, and we were good closers with $5,000 worth of profit in it. So guess what the customer would do? They'd go shopping. That's why we used to take non-refundable partial down payments. Ironclad, we had attorney generals, we had counsels read it, so we knew that we were good. So we would take enough deposit on the car. Let's say I had a $3,000 deal. The salesman had to get a $3,000 deposit because customers came back and said, this dealership is $1,500 cheaper. And I would say, sir, I beg to differ with you. He goes, well, here's their buyer's order, here's yours. I says, but you have a non-refundable partial down payment. So if you go buy their car, I'm keeping the $3,000. They saved you $1,500. Really, I'm $1,500 cheaper because you're not getting the money back. You signed a contract. So at the end of the day, people used to go shopping our deals with the thing. So we had to come up with a solution. Non-refundable partial down payment was my verbiage in the contract.
I can't believe you didn't have binders. That's crazy.
Yes, that's the way we did business, so you wouldn't lose it. So, in New York, you would set your customer up for a delivery for the finance, but finance managers were fucking prima donnas. So the way the delivery worked is, Monday you would pencil in on the finance manager's office for you'd bring them over there, Mr. and Mrs. Johnson, which day of the week and which time works for you. And they'd put their name in. You must be here. If you come late, you're going to have to reschedule again. So this guy takes them on time because he's going to have 12 deliveries in a row. So they didn't even print their own paperwork back then. You would take the deal. They would bring the customer into the finance office the day they bought the car. So he would sell them everything he was going to sell them. And then he'd send the paperwork up to the girls in the office, and they would print the deals and the warranties and the contracts and the registration, send it back down, and then he would sign it. If he didn't sell anybody something, it gave him a second chance to try to sell them, and he'd print his own contracts at that particular point. But he had an appointment. That's how it was done. So all they fucking did was sell and deliver, sign the paper. They didn't print the shit. In Jersey, you printed everything and you learned everything. So my wife worked in the office, and that's how we ended up meeting. My wife used to do the billing and all that. And, after like a year, my wife was a vet. I think I might have said it on the show. But at the end of the day, that's the way it was in New York. And
wow, that's unreal, because we never, people would go shop us, but if you didn't spot deliver the deal, it wasn't a deal. It wasn't a deal. They weren't coming back. deposit or not, because you had to give it back by law in Illinois. So either way, you
that's where the verbiage came in. Non-refundable partial down payment.
Doesn't matter in Illinois. If they don't take delivery of something, you got to give them back their money. If they would have took delivery, it's different,
So think about this. Look at what you can do in Illinois now.
Yeah,
I mean, you could be.
I know that
this
got
show.
The elevator, but
I don't want anybody to be offended.
I'm sure because you're not really in the car business as much right now. The FTC, they're running classes once every month to tell, because they sent out 97 letters to the biggest dealers in the country and told them this Article 5 that you do something wrong, and Article 5 is where they're going to come after you. Like they had Leader from Canada paying $20 million, and they're going after the GM for $216 million. But they're having meetings every month. They're like warning you. They're putting a shot over the bow right now to dealers to say, hey, you fuck around, we're coming for you. I was just on a meeting.
So think about that now today.
Oh my gosh.
You can get away with everything you want in Chicago, Illinois. Anything you want. You could be a transvestite, go play in women's basketball and men's basketball, whatever you are. But if you fucking take a deposit and you don't give it back, you're going to be in federal court being indicted. Everything else goes in Chicago, but you can't do that. Look at the fucking mayor. Look at the one before him, the Buccaneers one. And in Chicago, we had another one that used to smoke crack, if I remember. It's fucking.
That was Washington. Yeah, well, but they did catch the other guy.
He was elected twice. They caught him smoking crack and they re-elected him. Chicago, you can do anything, but you take a fucking $300 deposit, you can give it back. You're going to jail for 20.
Yeah, that's pretty much. You're pretty much spot on. So
thank God you got the fuck out of there. I don't know how you put up with it. I definitely would have had 17 heart attacks in Chicago if I worked there.
I was just back there well, I was actually way south, but I flew in on Friday, and I flew back home to wonderful South Carolina. And the craziest thing was the airports. In the airport in Chicago, I was like elbow to elbow. I couldn't. You come out. It's crazy. When I come back home, landed about 8:30, 9 o'clock or something. The place is shut down in South Carolina. The cages are down. It's going to the day.
You know what's funny? You were brave enough to fly. There's
my luggage, 10 minutes, everything.
There is no fucking way at all. First of all, I'm handicapped now, and there's advantages sometimes to being handicapped. I get those wheelchairs. They walk me right through the gate and fucking to the plane. Yeah. It's the best. I mean, you're sacrificing some things, but you get some perks. Yeah. So if I had to wait in those lines that we don't fund the fucking people that are terrorists, we don't fund those people that check people's bags. Number one, I'm not waiting in the line. But if my wife somehow convinced me to wait in fucking line, and I don't know what she'd have to do to convince me to do that, maybe go in the fucking bathroom and give me a little shot or something. But at the end of the day, I'm not waiting in line. But if I did have to wait in that line, and there's people that fucking wear shoe bombs. I'm not getting on no fucking plane that people ain't been screened, at least tested to be screened, because those TSA agents are eating a fucking sandwich. They're fucking 400 pounds, bellies hanging out, and they ain't looking for shit. But at least people might be scared to bring something on that they might find something. So no way that I have to go and fly next month because I'm going to Florida. And I know that the president just paid out of, I don't know, their own pockets for the fucking TSA to start screening. So the lines went down. I don't know how you end up flying that.
True story. While I was in Chicago, there were 3 ladies sitting at a table, TSA. So I walked over and said, "Can I buy you guys lunch?" And they said, yeah, sure. So it's all, there's so many kiosks and restaurants. They were sandwiches you rip out and drinks. Yeah. But I asked them, I said, "So what happened? How long did you not get paid?" There are now 3 ladies I'm talking to. The one says, I really wasn't paying attention. I was just coming to work. The other one said, "Yeah, I was a little worried, but I knew they'd take care of it." And the other one says, "I'm just happy to be working here. I love what I do, blah, blah, blah." I said, "Well, what about Atlanta? because there wasn't really bad lines in Chicago. I got, I'm TSA approved and shit, so it goes pretty fast. But I said, what about Atlanta? She goes, we should call that Ed Lazy.
It's funny, when our company gave us those perks to go buy the clear, the invisible, the fast pass, whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah.
What the best was, when we lived in Florida, I bought, the first time I went to Florida, I left New York, and then I hadn't been off on vacation in a while. So we went to Disneyland for like Universal Studios in Disneyland for 2 weeks, me, my wife, and my kids. I probably spent about $6,000 back then. And I said to my wife, I'm going to go buy this stock. She goes, what stock? I said, fucking Disney. These motherfuckers got me to spend $6,000 in 2 weeks. And I'm smiling. My kids are happy. Then they talked me into buying annual passes. So while we were in Florida, we had annual passes. And great for annual passes because we had a lot of scares with hurricanes. So in Orlando, it's inland. So every time there was a hurricane that was going to come close, people used to say, what'd you do? Did you have the storm shutters? This, I says, no. My wife and kids went to Orlando, sometimes with the neighbors, because I would get these condos there was like a house that you rented for $100 a night, and they would go to Disneyland. So my kids loved when hurricanes come. Fucking if it was a little rainy.
Greenhouse villas.
If it was a little rainy outside, they thought they were going to Disneyland. So that's how we battled the hurricanes. Then I remember when they came out, because those fucking lines were long. And sometimes we wait in August. And you're waiting in line for an hour to go on the roller coaster with your son, and he's driving you nuts, and your daughter's driving you nuts, and your wife's really driving you nuts because it's too fucking hot. They came out with these things where you can buy and skip the line.
Yeah.
Well, we're in the car business. I'm rolling. The money wasn't a fucking problem. I fucking bought the fast passes they were worth more money to me than the fucking annual passes to the bar.
Yeah.
So my son would go right on the ride. Boom, we go right back on the ride. People are still waiting. I'll go fucking right back on the ride. And then I said, I feel terrible. Fuck it, because some people couldn't afford it. I said, fuck it. Right back to the front of the line.
Yeah.
So that was the best you could buy. That's just like an Italian thing. You always slip somebody money. I never waited in line at no restaurants. I had no time. I needed to have every bit of enjoyment fast. So whatever it took to go, it's like what you said. You got some money and you give the right person the money. You're not waiting in line. I mean, I told you a story about the PlayStations, right?
I don't know if you have, but let's save it for another day. Because we're at 30 minutes now, and I don't want to stay too much.
Angie, remind us next week about the PlayStations on Christmas. I got to tell you that story.
All right. No, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. This was I enjoyed every minute of it, listening on the sidelines. You can go to our website up top, trueconfessionsofacarguy.com. You can also find it on your favorite podcasting platform. We have the show on. You can go on YouTube, and we just signed on with Rumble. You can find us on there too. And with that, guys, thank you again for this was awesome. I really enjoyed this.
Did you put the disclaimer up that says that we're only allowed to have so many curses in one session?
No, we can fucking say whatever we want.
The disclaimer's on for adults only. So,
All right, guys.
All right, thanks again for joining us.
I got to watch myself. I get so enthused I might have another heart attack on the show. All right, buddy.
We don't want that. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you guys next time.